I bought a ticket to a networking event, really important networking event. It was going to be filled with speakers, not just any speakers, but big-time speakers who write bestsellers and fill coliseums. I'm not one of those kind of speakers. I fly under the radar. Nobody knows who I am. Maybe nobody will ever know who I am, and that's okay with me. But I was going to this event, and there weren't just going to be speakers there. There were going to be agents, the people who in this room, one look, it could change my life forever. This was a big deal. I had the mistaken impression that this was going to be my moment, my big break, not realizing that there never is one moment, one big break, just a lot of tiny ones you step into. So, of course, the event was so important that it required, not just any outfit. I decided to go on the internet and purchase a new one. Now, I can be somewhat fashion challenged, as many of you have figured out already. I can be a little tacky, a little bit over the top. So it would make sense, if you know me, that I would get online and for this important networking event, I would purchase a pair of bright silver sequined palazzo pants. They were hot. Sequins all over top to bottom, not a spare inch that wasn't covered in sequins. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of sequins. Kind of like bedazzling a walrus. But all I got to say is, honey, if you're going to make them in my size, don't be judging me for wearing them. So they come in. I was so excited. I come in the mail. I tried them on. I looked good. And I had decided that since the ballroom I would have to drive to it, I didn't want to wear the pants there. I would wait and find a little remote bathroom and change in there to make my grand entrance. So a couple minutes later, I'm standing there, ready in the bathroom. I'm the only one in there, and I got on my new pants, and I am looking good. And I'm like looking in the mirror. I'm singing my theme song. You're gonna hear me roar. And I take a step to leave and walk into my destiny, and I hear this noise. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was the pipes or something. I looked under. I didn't see any feet. I didn't hear it again. I took another step. Now, I'm a little slow. Maybe I just didn't want to believe it, but it took one more step before I finally realized where that noise was coming from. It was coming from my thighs. Every step I was taking in those sequins, what are they made of? Metal, plastic? I don't know. But they were screeching together, engaging in mortal combat. It sounded like I was chewing on glass, like I was walking on gravel. You see, there were two words I failed to take into consideration when purchasing those pants. Chub Rub. Some of you were like, I don't know what that is. Bless your heart. I will tell you what that is. That is when your thighs rub together when you walk. It's a thing. We even got a group, a club. I'm the founder and president of the Chub Rub Club. I got t-shirts made. Chub Rub Club, where thigh gap is for losers. If it's really bad, you can join Chub Rubbers Anonymous. My name is Kelly Swanson. It's been 30 days since my last rash. My rock bottom happened on Sunday morning when they asked me to do a solo in church, and I wore corduroys. Friction caused sparks. They had to put me out in the baptismal pool. Give her a token, Frank. I'm standing in that bathroom on what was supposed to be a night I'd never forget, and wasn't, thinking, what am I going to do? I had nothing to change into. All I had was a pair of yoga pants I'd worn on the way over that I wear everywhere except yoga. I almost left, but I was like, Kelly, you spent a lot of money on this ticket. Can't you figure something out? So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the back door. I'm going to just kind of slide in. I'm going to stand off to the side, let everybody sort of wave at me as they pass, and it'll be fine. I'll just wait till everybody's gone before I leave. I thought that was a good plan. Next thing you know, I'm standing in front of a ballroom just like this, in front of just as many people as are here today. I swear they all turned and looked at me at once with this exaggerated raised eyebrow. Because, see, they were all wearing khakis and floral shirts because the theme was Hawaiian tropic. I'm standing there in the doorway wearing sequin pants looking like Elvis. The later years. And I was suddenly terrified because sitting in that room was the exact same people in my mind that had been in every cafeteria I had walked in every day of my childhood. And they terrified me. I saw a chair sitting in the back. I said, Kelly, you can still do this if you just get to this chair. It was only about 4 or 5 feet away. I said, just get to this chair, sit down, you'll be fine. It's in the back of the room. Nobody will notice. It's only 4 or 5 feet. That's a long 4 or 5 feet to get there without your thighs touching. And look natural. And every once in a while, a little would squeak out. But that's okay. I pretended like it was my ringtone. It'd be like, I'd be like, hello, Kelly Swanson. Y'all, I was exhausted by the time I finally got to that chair, but I made it. I sat down, I was sweating, I'd lost several sequins along the way. But I'd made it. I sat down ready for my future. I was just in time to read the sign on the table that said reserved for staff. And little Miss Thing's tapping me on the shoulder going, we got a seat for you right up front with the guests. Of course you do. All the way up the front, past all these tables, I got to go in my pants that are like... And I sat there having a moment where this one voice in my head is like, get out of here. Run. Walk, run. You don't belong. See? We've been telling you this your whole life. You aren't good enough. These people are better, they're smarter, they have more money, they've done better things, they're skinnier. You don't fit. Look at you. You're an idiot. Look at you, you stick out. You're pink. Oh, leave. And just step back in your comfort zone where you belong. And then that other voice, it's getting louder and louder the older I get. I just turned on 50 and now she's starting to yell through life. And she says, is that how you're going to play this? You're going to write a story that says you failed before you've even started. You're going to walk out there in front of all these audiences all over the place and tell them to own what makes them unique, to embrace being pink, to get over their fears and come out of their comfort zones, and you're not going to have the courage to walk your talk. You're going to be a fraud. When are you going to start believing the words you say? And trust your gifts. Don't doubt the spirit that dwells inside of you. This is your turn to walk down that aisle. Change your story. And I believed it. So I took a deep breath. I stood up. And I said, thighs, do your thing. And I began to march. I marched with power. I marched with emphasis. I clapped my thighs together on purpose. I owned it. I stopped at every table. I passed out my cards. Sequins were jumping ship left and right. People were like, where is that noise coming from? I said, it's coming from my thighs. Apparently down there the party's already started. And I held my head up high and marched my way through that school cafeteria. All the way to the front. I was the first one out there on that dance floor that night, dancing, and with the light hitting my pants, I looked like a strobe light. I am doing all my best moves. There are barely any sequins left, right? People are gathered around me. They're laughing, they're high-fiving, they're going, Chub Rub Girl! And they're sharing their stories. And many of them have chub rub just like me, and some of them even worse. And then they're sharing other stories of the quirks that they have and the ways that they feel not good enough and the ways they feel left out. And most of the people were around me in that room sharing the delicious things that make us human. And there probably were a couple of people on the outskirts smirking, pointing. But that's okay, because for the first time, it wasn't my problem. It was theirs. Because I was Chub Rub Girl. I was the last one to leave, pretty much. There were only a few left. I had a stack of business cards, new friends, people who wanted to book me as a speaker and didn't even know what I spoke about. Wanted to book me just because they liked my personality and the experience and the emotional footprint that I had left with them that I'll teach you later. Friends who had gathered up those sequins off the floor and put them in little baggies for me to take home. Good friends. I get to the doorway, I'm ready to leave, and there's one of the agents standing there blocking my path. One of the big ones eats speakers like me for breakfast. Grimace on his face, and I thought to myself, here you go. Here's my wet blanket. And I remembered hearing music. I was going to be embarrassed if y'all didn't laugh. So I'm standing there and I'm looking at that agent ready to cross his path, and I thought, okay, here comes every toxic person, every person who said I couldn't do this, all rolled up into that man right there. I knew it was a defining moment. And I get up to him and he looks at me and he puts his hand out and he shakes my hand. And then he gives me his card and he says, I want you to call me. He said, I want to talk to you about working together. He said, and I quote, we've been looking for somebody just like you. Chub Rub, he said. That's hilarious. A moment standing in the full glory of knowing I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. That shortcomings and fears and anxieties aside, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. Changing lives, making a difference, being somebody else's drink of water exactly the way I am. That I am good enough. And that if I'm still here, then I'm not done yet. If you're still here, then you're not done yet. And I'm realizing that the very things that made me different had become the things that had made me great. And suddenly, every lesson Granny taught me along those bumpy country roads began to make sense. For she would teach us to see something new in the same old path you've always taken. That it's not about getting better opportunities or getting better patience or getting better. It's about changing what you see on the inside. She taught us to believe in what we're doing, that we do matter and that we may be the only person put in their path in this moment. And that there are ripple effects of the work that we do that is changing lives in ways you may never be able to see. She taught us to step into someone else's story, to take action, To in the days, even though you've seen a million patients, you've dealt with a ton of employee issues, all the things on paper, all the things going on in your personal life, that sometime you can stop, pause, look up, and take the long road home.